You know that feeling, right? You see an ad for something at an absolutely killer price, and you think, that's it. They legally have to sell it to me for that. Well, you might be surprised. Today, we're going to crack open a really cool legal puzzle that, believe it or not, you bump into every single day. The massive difference between a price tag and a real binding promise. So let's just get right to the heart of it. Picture this, you're scrolling online, you see an ad. Is that company now locked into a promise to sell you that item at that price? It seems like it should be a simple yes, but the real answer is way more interesting, and it's all thanks to a classic court case. And to really get this, we've got to jump in a time machine and head back to 1968 in the UK. It was a different world, for sure, but a huge rule about how we make deals was about to get sorted out, all because of a tiny, simple ad tucked away in the back of a magazine. And here it is. This is the little ad that caused the big legal fuss. Just 4 words, Bramblefinch for sale, and then a price. The guy who placed it, a Mr. Partridge, had absolutely no idea that these 4 words would end up in a courtroom and shape the law we all deal with today. So here's the twist. At the time, it was actually illegal to sell these particular birds. But the court case wasn't really about the birds themselves. It was all about the ad. The whole argument boiled down to this one question. Had Mr. Partridge made a legal offer to sell, or was his ad something else completely? And this, right here, is the absolute key to the whole thing. On one hand, you've got an offer. That's the real deal. It's basically saying, you say yes to my terms, and we have a binding contract right now. But on the other hand, there's this thing called an invitation to treat. It's way more casual. It's like saying, hey, I've got this for sale. Who wants to make me an offer? Let's really zero in on that term, invitation to treat. It sounds a little formal, I know, but the idea is super simple. It's not a promise. It's just an expression of willingness to enter into negotiations. Think of it as the starting pistol for a negotiation, not the finish line. It's like a shop putting things in the window display. They aren't promising to sell it to you. They're just inviting you to come inside and maybe make an offer. Okay, so you've got the 2 big ideas, the serious offer and the casual invitation to treat. What do you think? Did the court decide that Mr. Partridge's little ad was a binding promise to sell a bird to anyone and everyone who saw it? Or was it just an invitation for people to get in touch? And the verdict was, it was an invitation to treat. Yep, the court totally sided with Mr. Partridge. The judges said that his ad wasn't an offer at all. He wasn't on the hook to sell a bird to every single person who read that magazine. He was just inviting people to start a conversation with him. And what's so important is that this one little case about birds established a massive rule that we use every day. Here's the bottom line. Almost all advertisements are just invitations to treat. This means the seller isn't legally forced to sell to every single person who shows up wanting to buy. But why is this the rule? Well, it just comes down to common sense, really. It prevents what's known as the limited stock problem. I mean, imagine the chaos. Say a store advertises a new TV. If that ad was a legal offer and 1,000 people show up to accept it, but the store only has 50 in stock, well, they'd be breaking a contract with 950 people. This rule stops that nightmare scenario from ever happening. So this is how a sale actually works in the eyes of the law. Step 1, a store puts out an ad or puts a price tag on an item. That's the invitation. Step 2, you pick up the item and take it to the cashier. That is you making an offer to buy it. And finally, step 3, the cashier scans it and takes your money. That's the acceptance. And only at that moment is a contract actually formed. So if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. That price tag on the shelf or that ad you see on your phone is not a promise carved in stone. It's really just the opening line. It's the business's way of inviting you, the customer, to come on in and make them an offer. But, and you know there's always a but, this does leave us with a really fascinating question. What happens when an ad isn't so general? What if it's so specific, so clear, that it really does sound like a direct promise to anyone who does a certain thing? Well, that's where we find the exception to the rule, and that's a whole other story.